Hello everyone, Jerry Tabatt with you in another edition of our military community, and today we continue our exploration of things that are available for our military veterans, not only the individuals from the military themselves that are in active duty or retired, but the families and the spouses. They're so important also. And we talked about Gulf Coast State College, how great they were, but today we're going to deal with FSU. FSU's got some great programs over there too. And joining me this morning to talk about it is Jim Allen, who is the director, and I'm going to read this to get it right, Academic and Registrar Services here at FSU at Panama City, and Debbi Whitaker, who is the director, FSU Panama City Collegiate School, which is kind of interesting. I'm anxious to talk about that, but before we get into any of this, Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for having us today too. I really do appreciate the opportunity to come and share a little bit about what we're doing across the street here. As you mentioned, I'm the Director of Academic and Registrar Services at FSU Panama City. I oversee registrar services, course enrollment, course building. In addition to that, I oversee academic services with regard to career services and employer relations on our campus. And I also oversee veteran services. So my job is to help work with those student veterans, with military-connected students, and make sure that they have a successful experience on our campus.
And that's a big job, and I know the veterans appreciate that. Debbi, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well,
not the stuff that we found out before the show today. But...
Now, Jerry, shh.
Okay, I promise.
That's our secret.
Okay,
I've already said. Okay. So now I'm Debbi Whitaker, and I'm the director of the Collegiate School at FSU Panama City. I echo what Jim said about thank you for having us on today. I can say that the military community is very important to us. I'm not a veteran, as the two of you are, but I'm a veteran's daughter, and so we love our military community. I've been in education here in Panama City for about 20 years, and the Collegiate School really was started in response to needs of our military community. And so we love what we're able to do. We opened the Florida State University's high school here 2 years ago. So we are early in, and we love all the things that we're able to do, and we'll love and enjoy talking about our veterans today.
Well, and thank you both for coming in, but I want both of you to answer this. You'll probably echo one another again, but why are these services that FSU provides for military themselves and the veterans, why is it so important to FSU?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And FSU, or military veterans in particular, have always been a very important part of Florida State University and its history, going all the way back to just after World War II, when the GI Bill was first created and FSU became a co-educational institution. That was around 1947. FSU began to admit military veterans using those GI benefits. And so since that time, we've always considered the military community to be a partner of Florida State University. And that's also more important here in this local area, being situated between Tyndall Air Force Base, Naval Support Activity, Panama City, and of course we've got just down the road Eglin Air Force Base and Hurlburt Field. So we are always and always have been very committed to the military community in ensuring that both our veterans, our student veterans, and their families have access to resources in which they can achieve their academic goals.
And for us, that's real important, because what's more important to a veteran than taking care of his family?
Yes.
And that's where those children come into play. And there is military children are so vital to the success of a community, and it really does start from early on to all the way through the time when there is a retirement or the veteran is there. So.
Now, are there any specific requirements that veterans, spouses, or the children of veterans' family, are there any specific requirements that they have to have in order to enroll in FSU?
So from a college perspective, student veterans, their students or their dependents all have to meet the same admission requirements that any other student would need to meet in order to be admitted at Florida State University. What we do recommend for our military veterans is to consider completing their AA degree, their Associate in Arts degree first. What that does, Jerry, is that ensures that the student veteran can avoid having to take any of those standardized tests that most of our student or our freshmen have to take in order to get admitted to the university, the SAT, the ACT, that sort of thing. So if they complete that Associate in Arts degree first, then transfer into FSU Panama City, that ensures that they can reach their academic goals in a much more streamlined process because they've already completed their general education requirements during their AA degree, and ensure that they can be successful in meeting their goals.
Aid. There's types of aid too available to them, right?
Sure. Yes.
What are just basically some of the things, Debbie, that you have that can help support the cost of going to college?
Yeah. So for us, that starts for us in high school because we are a high school. Those military families, they can come to us free of charge for their student. We take students from 9th, 10th, 11th, and then we'll also have 12th. And so the beauty of our high school that is a part of FSU is that as they're coming in, we are seeing what they've done in other schools across, DOD schools or where they may be going that may also have a DOD school. And so to Jim's point about the AA degree, the associate's degree, we're working on that for those military children while they're in high school.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you guys are doing. Really quickly, before we get into a couple of specifics here, military families are complex. They don't all get born and raised in the United States. We have foreign students that come in.
That's right.
We have foreign spouses that come in, foreign children. Is there a problem with language? And if there is, what can be done about it?
I haven't experienced any issues with any kind of language barriers on our campus. We have a faculty and a staff, and we'll talk, I'm sure, about these resources later on, that are always working consistently to try and provide access and resources to all of our students, in particular our student veterans and their family members. And if there are any language barriers, we're working to ensure that there are resources on campus that can help facilitate the learning process without having that be a barrier to their education, to their success in completing their degrees.
Yeah.
And so we work very hard as an institution to ensure that that's in place.
This, I don't know if you can answer this or not, Debbie, but do you see a difference between military children and actual children that are born and raised here in Bay County?
I do. And it's very positive, the differences that I see. Military children, and when they come into a new environment, it is just like they've known everyone their whole life.
Yeah.
They just come into a setting and they're outgoing. They want to know about you as a person. They want to connect with you on levels that a lot of our, for lack of a better word, our homegrown kids, they don't have those similar experiences. Even in class discussions, our military kids can give a different perspective because they have a different perspective.
Right. They see more things.
That's right.
And even the overseas experience, they can talk about, they understand different customs, they understand different language and stuff, so it's great.
And they're appreciative of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're easy to adapt because they've been doing that for most of their lives, right? They've been following their parents, their mother or father around from one country or base to another. And so those students have really kind of been conditioned to adapt more easily to these new environments, and in particular to a new college or high school environment or to a new college environment. So it's really a unique aspect of the military child to have that type of skill set to be able to adapt easily to new environments, and that's something that I encourage them to really promote in their experiences.
Yeah, and they can talk to other kids too, and kids can talk to kids, but if adults try to talk to kids,
that's right. Say no more.
Yeah. Jim, I want to get into something specific here now. FSU has been designated as a collegiate Purple Star campus. What in the world is that? And that is an honor, isn't it?
It's a very big honor, to be honest. And I was really thrilled when we received notification that we had been given that designation. The Florida State Legislature has designated FSU as a Purple Star campus. And what that means, Jerry, is that it ensures or it just demonstrates what FSU is doing in its commitment to support our military veterans and our military connected students and their families. We are not one of 13 or 12 institutions around the state of Florida to have that designation, so we're proud of it. The fact that we're in Bay County, where all of our high schools, our charter schools as well, the FSU Collegiate School also has that designation. It really makes it special, and I think it just really sends the message of how supportive we are to the military community, not just to student veterans, but to their families as well.
And that is so important to know, that veterans can come to the colleges here in Bay County and be treated like individuals they are, and be treated just as equally as anybody else. Now, once you get designated as something special, like this collegiate purpose campus, that puts a lot of responsibilities on not only you as the director, but also the staff. What are some of the things that the staff has to realize, that they have certain guidelines that have to be followed?
Yeah, and it's interesting that you asked that, because really before we received this designation, we had already been providing those resources that the designation requires. We have military point of contact on our campus. I serve as a Navy veteran myself. I'm able to serve as a point of contact for those student veterans and their family members. We are also required to instill a student-led transition team. So for students who are applying to FSU Panama City, we have a student-led transition team that will help those military students in that transition from military life or dependent life onto campus life. Some of the other responsibilities we have is to host on-campus events that support our military community, right? We do our Veterans Day event in the fall every year, and we incorporate Bay District schools in that. That's a unique partnership that we have with Superintendent McQueen and his team to bring in our junior ROTC students from the surrounding areas and demonstrate what FSU and what this community does for our veterans. We also host a monthly, what we refer to as a First Friday feast for all of our student veterans. So we bring those student veterans in. We have a veterans ready room on the campus to eat some free food and just enjoy some fellowship and build on that community of student veterans on our campus.
That's what's so important. And Debbie, you have a unique responsibility. You talked briefly about this, the FSU Collegiate High School. Expand on that. What is it? Enrollment criteria, eligibility?
Sure. So as I did allude to that at the beginning, we are really
Stole my thunder.
Sorry, Jerry. We really want to welcome those military families into our community, as does all of Bay County. But this school really came about to serve the need for the rebuilding of Tyndall Air Force Base after Hurricane Michael. And we know there are so many families that are looking for the Purple Star schools. We know there are so many families who want that military connection and to be in a community that supports that. And, this is the month of April is the month of the military child.
Right.
It's Purple Up next week. And so we want families to know that we are catering to the needs of the military families. One of the important things for all of our military families is that what is my child going to receive from your school, that when we have to leave you, what can we take with us?
Right.
And so having those agreements across different states and across different schools is really important for all the families that are bringing students to us. And it's also important for the kids to know that there are other military kids in the school. Like I have Jim talked about a committee and transition team, and we have that even on the high school level that they would have at the college. I have kids that are in my office in the afternoons this week, and they're making Purple Up bracelets. And it's all military kids who are doing that.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask both of you about that. I know transition planning for the military, adults to children, is different. For the high schoolers, what is that transition planning? What is it, and how do you really help them?
So when our families transfer in, we ask them to send us those high school transcripts ahead of time so that we can see what different subjects the students have already had, what credits they already had, so that we can build that schedule for them before they ever even, get into Florida and more specifically Bay County. On the other end of that, when we know a family is going to be, relocating to another state, if they know the school they're headed to or the school district, we're reaching out to that school and saying, This is what our student is bringing to you. What is the equivalent class that you have? I may call it one thing in Florida when another state may call it something else. So we want to make sure that we're not, number one, having students redo things they've already done, but also making sure that that receiving school on the other end realizes they've already had this.
And it makes it so much easier for these, especially the kids going to a different school or something to break things down. Jim, what about guys and gals that are getting out of the military? Their transition from military life to civilian life and then a college environment is quite different. And you've got to not only talk about getting them planned into the transition phase that helps them, but also you have this academic planning. So you need to really sit down and talk to these students.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the unique things about FSU Panama City. The fact that we're as small as we are, I don't like to use the word small, but we are a very unique campus, and that we have the opportunity to provide individualized attention really to all of our students. And student veterans are no different in that regard. We're able to provide those student veterans with that academic advisement specific to their degree program to ensure that they're going to be successful, that they're going to map out a course of schedule or a schedule of courses that will meet their needs. Some of them are coming in and they may already have a full-time job and they're pursuing education part-time. So we can shape our degree plans and the course offerings according to what their needs are. What's unique also is that we're able to provide we're able to certify GI Bill benefits for all these students as well.
Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah, very important. If they're using that GI Bill, that's going to cover not only their tuition, but the new GI Bill also provides housing stipends. When you and I were in the service, the GI Bill didn't have that housing stipend, right? Yeah. So it's a really generous and very helpful benefit for them to use. But they also have access, Jerry, to all the other scholarships that all of our students have access to.
And that is what is so important, that they need to understand that there is things available out there, because when you're in the military, you're so involved with doing your job, and when you get out, you say, okay, I want to go to college, and it's, oh, wow. But one thing also that a lot of military people don't realize is that the actual job they had in the service, there is actually things that can be used as college credits for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so when after they've been admitted to FSU, we can take a look at those, what they call them, the joint military transcripts. And so we'll take a look at that transcript to determine if any of the training or coursework they may have had as part of the military might translate into college credit. And that's after they've been admitted. We'll take a look at that. In most cases, we'll see that maybe equate to elective credit, but in some cases that can be applied to major course requirements as well. So we take a very careful look at that. We have a staff of professionals through an FSU, in our FSU Student Veteran Center, who take a look at that credit, work with the academic college, and making sure that if that credit is equivalent to a course requirement, it will be.
So that's so important in that.
Absolutely.
One thing, Debbie, before we move on to something else here, I want to ask you about is these high school students with your collegiate high school. What is the interaction to the kids that come in to students that are already here in this high school service? What are those that are coming in, especially from overseas, and the interaction? Do they get along?
They do. What we have done at the collegiate school is we have student ambassadors who walk alongside those new students. We'll, have a military child with another military child. We try to find out. We try to learn our military students all the places they've been and all of the experiences they've had to be able to then pair them with someone coming in, so that they already sort of have a already established friend, which is really important for kids.
Sort of like a mentor service.
Yes, yes.
Do you have adult mentors, by the way? I'm serious.
Yes, yes.
We have staff and faculty who, and I serve as a chapter advisor, and we may talk about this too. The Student Veterans of America a national organization. We actually have a student chapter on our campus made
great.
up of those student veterans. And so as a chapter advisor, myself or other faculty on staff who may serve as a chapter advisor for other student groups can serve in that mentor type of capacity and provide those student veterans or military connected students with the resources, the advice, the mentorship, the guidance, all that information and resources that you don't necessarily put on a document or a piece of paper, but can be shared in those interpersonal communications and correspondence with students to ensure that they're going to learn from that and gain the experience and the knowledge they need to be successful in life.
Even at the collegiate school, one of our student services specialists is a veteran. And it works out wonderfully because she can talk to the parents in that setting, but can also talk to them through the eyes of her own children when they were moving around the country.
Exactly. And one thing that I want to talk about that some people say, well, why do you need to talk about it? But there is a big change for students coming in and enrolling at FSU. Doesn't make any difference if it's a transitional veteran, if it's a spouse, if it's a child. Mental services are important. And I want each of you, we'll start with you, Debbie, about the high school. Why is it so important to the high school? Then we'll move over to you, Jim.
So the mental health for adolescents is so vital. And one of the things that we sense, and I will say especially in our military children, is that they want to be able to present to their parents that they're adjusting well, because they don't want to add a burden to their parents. And so that military adjustment and the mental health really then comes to us as the school to provide those services for them. I will also say that we have military liaisons who work with us from the bases. Mallory Gross at Tyndall, Aaron Picard at
Great partners.
They really are.
They are wonderful partners with us in facilitating everything that we need for these students. And so, because it is also very specific for a military child, they don't have the same situations to have to work through. And so there are family life counselors that are available for our military students if they don't feel comfortable talking with a counselor within our school.
Yeah, that is super. And Jim, for the adults, I know when I was in the service, we just went from base to base, said, okay, this, and we'll accept that. And sometimes when you get out of that military environment, that's, you know exactly what you're going to do from day to day. You're exposed to certain things. You say, "Oh, wait a minute, I got to sit down." And some people start to think and they overthink.
It may not be as structured as the military experience was. You and I had that experience in the military, right, Jerry? And we were talking a little bit about this before we aired. A lot of our military veterans are a little hesitant to speak up when they may be experiencing any kind of mental health challenge. We are fortunate on our campus to have a full-time mental health counselor that student veterans have access to. But more importantly, it's important to ensure that those veterans have somebody they can come and talk to, maybe not so much a counselor, but somebody that they can just talk to and have access to. And we have about 18 faculty and staff on our campus who are veterans themselves, right? And I think building that community helps provide that access to those students and availability to those students to reach out to folks when they're having a challenge or they're having something they're not really sure how to deal with, and we want to be able to provide that level of support to them.
Before we start running out of time here, I do want to move on to something else. What is Student Veterans of America? What is that program?
Thanks for asking that, Jerry. I mentioned a moment ago, I'm the chapter advisor for that campus chapter, student chapter on our campus. So Student Veterans of America is a national organization that serves to provide support and advocacy to all military veterans throughout the higher education experience. And so we have a local campus chapter that does very much the same thing. We provide opportunities for community service for our student veterans to get out in the community and share some of their service and their experience with local organizations to support them. We mentioned the Chester Sims nursing home here locally. We recently took a visit over there with some of our other students in our persuasion class to spend some time with our military veterans and just demonstrate to them how much we support them. The chapter itself is got about 18 students participating in it on our campus, and we're really excited to continue to promote that and ensure that we just build on that that community of student veterans on our campus.
And one other thing too, Debbie, is because it's so important to take care of our veterans and their kids and that, FSU has recognized that it's very important that you as employees, you understand veterans, and they actually put you through a Veterans 101 training.
Yeah.
What in the world is that? And a lot of people don't realize that, hey, these guys get trained on how to treat veterans.
That's right. As part of our onboarding. I mean, that's very important for us to know the challenges that military families experience as they're transitioning to a new area. And they also need to know the resources, that Jim has talked about, what resources are out there for families. And we want to be able to direct them and provide what is needed for them to feel like your community is the right fit for them.
Yeah, and that's what's so good about it is students coming in realize that you guys are just not somebody that's read a book and say, okay, I'm in charge. But why is that so important, that training for your side of the house?
And I mentioned before, we have a number of actual military veterans on our faculty and staff on our campus. And it's so important because, as you mentioned, as they're transitioning in, it's important for those student veterans to connect with someone who understands their experience and can help them with that transitional process. Sometimes it's a time management issue. Sometimes there's a lack of, or less structure than that veteran may have experienced in their branch. And so having someone there to understand what the resources are, understand what the services are on our campus that are available to our veterans, it really helps in ensuring that they can smooth that transition out and be successful and reach their academic goals in a very timely process.
I think one thing that I've noticed about people coming into our community is that they're so surprised at all of the military support they do find here.
And I'm surprised too. When I first got here in '79, I couldn't believe it.
I mean, your work with wounded warriors, your work in the community. I know we talked about going to the wall that heals. I mean, when you have families coming in and you have people who know what resources are there, it makes me realize that other communities don't have the same level of military, just the knowledge of military families that we do here in Bay County. And I think that's a great testament to us.
It really is very unique.
Now, the collegiate high school, Debbie, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to tell me what are probably the two most important things that the students learn when they're in that school, besides the academics. Besides
the academics, we have students tell us all the time it's the culture of what we've created.
Yeah.
We do believe we are a family. We're a family with high expectations, but we're a family, and it's the culture and the sense of unity within our school that is very important.
And Jim, especially for transitioning veterans, what are probably the two areas of study that they really are interested in?
So it's not only going to be what they're learning in the classroom, right? So if you're going in towards an engineering degree or a type of public safety and security degree, they're learning knowledge in the classroom that they're going to be able to apply in the field or in the workforce. The other thing that they really want to focus on, and we try to provide as many opportunities of this as possible, is that experiential learning component. Getting out there, taking on an internship, not just once, not just twice, but take as many internships as your schedule will allow. Get out there, take a part-time job in a related field to your career, so that you're gaining that knowledge, that practical experience that is a little different from that military experience, but it's going to make them more marketable and more competitive in the workforce when they graduate.
Just looking at both of you talking about this, I see a little smile on your face. The high school's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, totally worth it. Yeah,
and
we
Jim,
love it.
If there's any questions or anything, what can people do for your side of the house?
Absolutely. We'd encourage them. They can email me at jwallen@fsu.edu, or they can reach out to veterans@fsu.edu, and we can certainly answer or address or support them in any way we can.
We're out of time, guys. I'll say to do that. Jim Allen, Director, Academic and Register Services, FSU Panama City, and Debbie Whitaker, who's the director here of this, is your FSU Panama City Collegiate School. Thanks to both of you for coming in today. I really appreciate
It's
it.
an honor.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to finish up another edition of our military community again. FSU, Gulf Coast State College, they're both great for the military. Each one is unique. Each one is different. Enjoy going to the campuses and visiting. That's it for this edition. I'm Jerry Tabatt. Have a great day.